So I'll be talking about the flap creation and complications by microkeratome. Well, we know the different type of refractive surgeries which are available, the PRK, and we are going to talk about it, LASIK and its modifications, and SMILE. If we look at the flap-based refractive surgeries, then we have the LASIK and other modifications like LASIK, where you just remove the epithelium and do the laser. Then epi-LASIK is mostly not done these days. Then I will be talking about the flap creation. Dr. Shroff already talked about the femtosecond-based creation of the flap for the laser. I will talk about the microkeratome. So I will be showing you the video. So this is a Moria microkeratome. So where before we start creating the flap, we need to look at the machine. We have to check that all the parameters in the machine are working in a proper manner. Otherwise, we'll end up having a loss of the vacuum and then flap problems. So the checking of both the pumps is very, very important, so that we know that machine is working very properly, because ultimately the creation of the flap is based on the proper functioning of the machine. So it has two pumps. So alternative pump is available, so we can check for the pump 1 as well as for the pump 2. So once the machine has been checked that it's working properly, we go for the ring sizes. So ring sizes can be based on the keratometry values and also based on the astigmatism. So based on the astigmatism and all, we can choose a ring size. So once the ring size has been finalized, we need to fix the blade onto this as well as the vacuum tubing onto this. So this is a blade, microkeratome blade, which is used. Different thickness blades are available, like 90 microns and 130 microns. Mostly we are using 90 micron blade. And once the blade has been fixed, again we need to check at the vacuum buildup in the machine. So if we are sure that vacuum is going up to the desired level, then only we go on to the patient and fix the ring size onto the patient side. And also we check the movement of the microkeratome before fixing it onto the patient. So we can see that the microkeratome is working properly. It's going forward as well as it's coming backward. So now we can go on to the patient. So once the patient is there, we need to drape the patient. We have to take care that eyelashes are properly covered so that they don't come in the way of the microkeratome. दोबारा चलाना full video came or not? अच्छा. So anyway, that was about the creation of the flap. So I'll talk about the complications. A lot of complications are already talked about by Dr. Shroff. So I'll be talking about the complications of the LASIK and its management. No financial disclosures. I think we can omit that. This is a perfectly done LASIK eye without any complications. Very nice cornea, shining without any stria and complications. So the complications related to the microkeratome we can divide into three. One is a flap related complications, then complications related to the interface, and then related to the stromal bed. Flap related complications are one of the most common complications we face in microkeratome based LASIK. So as already discussed, can be incomplete flap. There could be a free cap, means the flap totally dislodges from the bed, thin or a buttonholing of the flap. There could be flap stria during the post-operative period, or dislocated flap, means the flap gets a little dislodged from its place, and then we can see folds in the flap and epithelial defects. The incidence of microstria post-operatively is around 3 to 4%. Minor stria usually don't need any treatment but can be managed. And then flap displacement can occur during the post-operative period if the patient accidentally rubs the eye, or there is a minor trauma, or sometime if the selection of the ring size is not proper, one may end up having a free cap, means the epithelial flap, the flap dislodges totally from the bed. So as far as the management of this complication is concerned, if it is an incomplete flap, one can do manual dissection If it is a little bit, if it is somewhere midway or beyond, then it's possible to manually dissect the flap and carry on with the laser. But if it is a somewhere midway, then it's better to wait for 2 to 3 months and then do the resurgery with a thicker flap, or to go for a surface ablation. If it's a free cap, then deposit it back with the proper alignment, but there is need to put a BCL for 2 to 3 days, and sometime rarely a suturing of the flap may be required so that flap is not lost during the postoperative period. Thin and buttonhole flaps, one need to sometimes abandon if there is a hole in the flap and then reschedule the surgery after about 3 to 4 months, or go for a surface ablation. Dislodged flaps, one can replace it back, remove the epithelium if it has grown under the flap, and then put it back with a BCL. Some of the complications which will affect the interface of the eye, like epithelial ingrowth, is a major complications. Sometimes small deposits of lint, blood, lipids can be seen, but they usually don't cause any problem unless there is some infiltration along these. Then there is need to clear these foreign bodies from under the flap and then deposit the flap back. The other complication which has been discussed is a DLK, that's a deep lamellar keratitis. Sands of Sahara sometimes can be seen in new patients. Microbial keratitis, again, it's a very rare complication. There is a patient who showed epithelial ingrowth, but it was just up to the margin only, and we did not do anything, and they cleared over a period of 2 to 3 months. Sometimes a small blood, especially if a patient has been using contact lenses, some bleeding can occur the edges and then can be lodged under the flap. Usually it will clear over a period of week to 10 days and doesn't need much treatment. So deep lamellar keratitis, we know it's a little dreaded complication, also called Sands of Sahara. It's a sterile complication, inflammatory complication, usually occurs because of the allergy or toxic reaction, and treatment of this is mainly steroids. Then coming to some of the complications which occurred in the stromal bed, which can lead to undercorrection and overcorrection of the refractory error, or sometimes there could be a decentered ablation leading to high order abrasions or post-LASIK ectasia. This is again a very serious complication, but occurs in less than 1% of the cases, 1 in 1,000 cases. So this is one patient who had a post-LASIK ectasia, and we managed this patient by cross-linking. So management, undercorrection, overcorrections, one can go ahead with the retreatment, which can be done after about a period of 6 weeks to 3 months. Or if the patient is willing to use contact lenses, they can be advised to use contact lenses. Ectasia, as I said, is a rare complication. There are so many causes for it, so we need to screen all these patients properly before we do LASIK. And it's more common if we are keeping the stromal bed less than 250 microns. And if the biomechanics of the cornea are weak, then there are chances that patient may end up having a post-LASIK ectasia. Dry eye again does occur in patients who are exposed to any kind of a flap making, whether it's a fumato or it's a microkeratome based, but usually patient will recover over a period of 5 to 6 months. The 18-year data on the LASIK has shown that this is a quite safe procedure. The overall complication rate in all the patients, they have analyzed about 53,000 cases, and they saw the overall complication rate is less than 1%. 99% of the patients are going to achieve 20/40 or better visual acuity. Some difference between the flap which we create with the fumato and the microkeratome. So if we see that the post-operative flap complications are little high with the microkeratome, around 12.3%, compared to the post-op flap with the fumatosecond, where it's around 8 to 9%. Then another complication which occurs more commonly with the fumatosecond is a DLK, which occurs in about 10% of the cases, whereas with microkeratome occurs in about 6% of the cases. Some of the other complications are almost same in both the patients, whether we do a microkeratome or a fumatosecond base. So LASIK is not only one of the most common surgical procedures performed, it's also one of the most successful surgical procedure. So LASIK surgery performed with the microkeratome, it's a safe, effective and predictable surgery. There are few complications which can be managed appropriately with good visual outcome in these patients. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bansal and Dr. Rushad. Actually, I